Have you ever stopped believing in yourself? Maybe one day you felt strong, and the next day you felt weak. Maybe you thought, I cannot do this. I am not good enough. I will never succeed. Many people have this feeling. It comes like a dark cloud. It covers the sun inside your heart. It makes you forget your own light. Today, I want to tell you a story. It is a simple story, but it is also a powerful story. It is a story about losing hope, and then finding hope again. It is a story about feeling weak, and then becoming strong again. It is a story that can help you, because maybe you also feel this way sometimes. Maybe you are learning English, and you think, it is too hard. I make too many mistakes. I cannot do it. Maybe in life, you face problems, and you think, I am not ready. I am not enough. If you have ever felt this, you are not alone. You are not the only one. Many people feel this. But here is the truth, you can rise again. You can believe again. You can try again. This story will show you how. This story will give you hope. So I invite you, listen carefully. Listen slowly. Repeat some sentences with me if you want. Feel the story in your heart. Let the words enter your mind. This is not only English practice. This is life practice. Are you ready to listen? Are you ready to feel? Then let us begin. Do you want to know one secret that made a man unstoppable? Do you want to hear a story that can change your life and help you practice English at the same time? Listen carefully, my friend. This story is not about a king, or a famous star, or a great hero from history. No. This story is about an ordinary person. Someone like you. Someone like me. He was not born rich. He was not born strong. He was not even lucky. In fact, people thought he would fail in life. They said he was too weak, too slow, too quiet. But one day, something changed. He found a secret. A very simple secret. And this secret turned him into a man who never stopped. Into a man who could not be broken. Into a man who became unstoppable. Now, I want you to do something. As you listen to this story, also practice your English. Do not worry if you do not understand every word. Listen to the rhythm. Feel the words. Repeat some sentences after me if you can. Because learning English is also like the story you are going to hear. At first it feels hard. At first it feels slow. But when you keep going, when you do not stop, something amazing happens. You start to grow. You start to shine. You start to feel strong. So, are you ready? Are you ready to learn the secret? Are you ready to hear how one simple idea can make you powerful? Good. Let us begin. But remember, this is not just his story. It can also be your story. It can also be the story of your life. Because the secret is not only for one man. The secret is for everyone. It is for every learner. It is for every dreamer. It is for you. Before I tell you about the secret, I want to ask you a few questions. Do you sometimes feel weak? Do you sometimes feel afraid? Do you sometimes feel like you want to give up? Maybe you are studying English, and it feels too difficult. Maybe you want to improve your life, but it feels impossible. Maybe people around you laugh at you, or doubt you, or say you cannot succeed. If you feel like this, do not worry. You are not alone. Many people feel this way. Even the strongest people in the world once felt weak. Even the most successful people once felt like giving up. But they did not stop. They found a way to keep going. The man in our story also felt this way. He was just a boy when it all began. He was small. He was shy. He was not special at all. But inside his heart, he wanted more. Inside his heart, he wanted to be strong. And he asked himself, is there a way? Is there a secret? And yes, there was. That is why you must listen closely. Because when you hear his story, you will see that the same power is inside you too. This story is not just about winning a game. It is not just about becoming rich. It is about life. It is about courage. It is about standing up again and again when life pushes you down. Because life will push you down. Life will test you. Life will say, stop. You cannot do it. But the truth is, you can. The truth is, you can rise. The truth is, you can keep going. And this is the secret. Our story begins with a boy named Daniel. Daniel was very normal. He lived in a small town. His family was not rich. His school was not special. He was not strong, he was not fast, and he was not the best student. In fact, he often failed his exams. Teachers shook their heads and said, "Daniel is lazy." Other children laughed at him because he was not good at sports. Sometimes they called him names. Sometimes they made him feel small. Daniel tried to smile, but inside he felt sad. Inside he thought, maybe I am not good enough. Maybe I will always fail. Have you ever felt like Daniel? Have you ever felt that people do not believe in you? Have you ever felt that your dream is too big, and you are too small? If yes, then you will understand Daniel. He was not a hero. He was just a normal boy. But he carried a secret desire. He wanted to be more. He wanted to prove to himself that he was not weak. Daniel's parents loved him, but they were busy. They did not always have time to encourage him. His teachers were strict, and they did not see his potential. His friends were kind sometimes, but often they forgot about him. So Daniel felt very alone. But sometimes, when he was alone in his room, he closed his eyes and dreamed. He dreamed of a better life. He dreamed of standing tall. He dreamed of people respecting him. And deep inside, a small voice whispered, "Do not give up. Do not stop. One day you will find the way." Day by day, Daniel practiced persistence. Sometimes he succeeded. Sometimes he still failed. But he noticed one big difference: when he failed, he did not feel broken anymore. Before, failure meant the end. Now, failure was only the beginning. He said, "I failed, but I will try again." This small change made him stronger. One day, his teacher gave him back another exam. His score was low again. The class laughed, but Daniel did not cry. He smiled and said, "I will do better next time." The teacher looked surprised. "Daniel, why are you smiling?" Daniel said, "Because I know I can improve." For the first time, he believed in himself. He began to write the word persistence on the front page of his notebook. Every time he opened the book, he saw it. He repeated it in his mind when he felt tired. He even whispered it before sleeping. Slowly, the word became part of him. Persistence was no longer just a word. It was his secret weapon. It was his key to change. After a few weeks, small changes appeared. Daniel's grades were still not the best, but they were better. Instead of being last in class, he was now in the middle. For him, that was a big step. In sports, he could now run more laps than before. His body still felt weak, but he was getting stronger. And most importantly, his heart felt different. Daniel's struggles were real. He was not only failing in school. He was also failing in his heart. He did not believe in himself. And when you do not believe in yourself, everything feels heavy. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, "I cannot do it"? This was Daniel every day. He looked at himself and thought he was useless. He thought he was a loser. His friends were moving forward. Some got good grades. Some were good at sports. Some were popular and had many friends. Daniel watched them and felt jealous. But more than jealous, he felt empty. He thought, what about me? What is my talent? What is my strength? He could not find any answer. Sometimes he wanted to quit school. Sometimes he wanted to run away. But every time he thought about giving up, he remembered his dream. He remembered the small voice inside. The voice that said, do not give up. You can be more. He did not know how. He did not know when. But he felt a small light inside. It was weak, but it was real. This is the story of Daniel. And this is where his journey begins. He was ordinary. He was weak. He was lost. But he had a dream. And sometimes, a dream is enough. Sometimes, a dream is the seed that grows into something unstoppable. Daniel often felt invisible. At school, teachers paid more attention to other students. They praised the clever ones. They praised the fast ones. But they rarely looked at Daniel. When he raised his hand, the teacher often chose another student. When he gave an answer, sometimes it was wrong, and the class laughed. Slowly, Daniel stopped speaking. He thought, why try if I will fail again? Have you ever felt invisible like this? Have you ever felt that people do not see your value? That was Daniel's world. At lunch, Daniel often sat alone. He ate his food quietly while other children laughed together. He wanted to join them. He wanted to be part of the group. But when he tried, the others sometimes ignored him. Sometimes they said, go away. That hurt him deeply. He began to believe he was not good enough for anyone. At home, life was not much better. His parents worked hard, but they were always tired. They did not have much time to talk to him. When he showed them his bad grades, they shook their heads and said, you must try harder. But Daniel thought, I already try. Nothing works. He felt trapped. He felt small. He felt invisible not only at school but also at home. But deep inside, a question stayed in his heart, is this my life forever? Will I always be invisible? Daniel could not escape failure. Every exam was another disappointment. Every race in sports was another defeat. Even when he played games with friends, he usually lost. It felt like failure was his shadow, always following him. He began to believe that he was born to lose. He told himself, I am not smart. I am not strong. Maybe I will always fail. These words hurt him more than anything others said. Because when you believe you are a failure, your heart becomes heavy. One day, the school had a big math test. Daniel studied late at night. He worked hard, hoping he could finally show his teacher that he was not lazy. But when the results came back, his grade was the lowest in the class. His teacher said, Daniel, this is not good enough. The class laughed again. Daniel's face turned red. He wanted to disappear. That night, he sat on his bed and cried. He whispered, why me? Why do I always fail? Maybe I should stop trying. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt like giving up because nothing seems to work? That was Daniel's pain. But even in his darkest moment, a small voice still whispered, do not stop. Do not give up. Sometimes after school, Daniel walked home alone. He walked slowly because he did not want to face his parents. He did not want to hear their disappointment again. On the way, he passed the park where other kids played. They shouted happily. They ran with energy. Daniel looked at them and thought, why can they be so free? Why can they be so strong, and I am not? On one of these lonely walks, Daniel saw an old man sitting on a bench. The man looked calm, peaceful. Daniel thought, maybe one day I can also feel peaceful. But now, he only felt heavy. His heart was full of sadness. Sometimes he stopped at the small river near his town. He threw stones into the water and watched the circles grow. He thought, that is like my life. Small and weak. Just a little circle. It will disappear soon. He did not know that one day, his life would make a big wave, not just a small circle. But at that time, he could not believe it. When he finally reached home, he put on a smile. He did not want to show his parents how broken he felt inside. He kept his pain secret. But inside, his heart was crying. One of the hardest things in Daniel's life was that no one believed in him. His teachers thought he was lazy. His classmates thought he was weak. His parents thought he was simply not talented. Even his few friends did not expect much from him. When people look at you and expect failure, it feels heavy. Daniel felt that weight every day. One evening, his father said, "Daniel, you must be realistic. You are not clever. You are not strong. Maybe you can do simple work when you grow up. Do not dream too big." These words cut Daniel's heart like a knife. He wanted to shout, "I can be more." But the words stayed inside. He only nodded. At school, a boy said to him, "Daniel, you will never be good at anything. Just accept it." Daniel smiled weakly, but his heart broke again. He wanted to believe he could change, but everywhere he looked, people told him he could not. Have you ever been in this situation? Have you ever felt that nobody believes in you, not even your family? It hurts. It makes you want to stop. But Daniel did not stop. He was weak, yes. But he was still breathing. And as long as he was breathing, he still had a chance. Daniel's outside world was full of failure. But his inside world was full of storms. He was fighting battles in his mind every day. One voice said, "You are nothing. You will never succeed." Another voice said, "Try again. Do not give up." Which voice was stronger? Most days, the negative voice won. But sometimes, the positive voice whispered just enough to give him hope. At night, when he lay in bed, Daniel thought about his life. He imagined himself growing older, still weak, still failing. The thought made him cry. He wanted change. He wanted to be different. But he did not know how. He prayed, "Please, give me a chance. Please, show me the way." And then, slowly, something began to grow in him. It was not big. It was not strong. But it was there. A little seed of belief. A little fire inside. He thought, maybe I can find a way. Maybe there is something I can do. He did not know it yet, but this small thought was the beginning of everything. Because sometimes, the strongest fire begins as a small spark. And Daniel had found his spark. One day, Daniel's life began to change. It was not a big day. It was not a holiday, not a celebration. It was an ordinary afternoon, just like many others. But sometimes, an ordinary moment can hide an extraordinary secret. That day, Daniel stayed in the library after school. He was tired of being laughed at. He was tired of failing. He just wanted to hide. He walked between the books, touching the covers with his hand. Suddenly, one book caught his eye. The title was simple. It said, "Never Give Up." Daniel stopped. He thought, what is this? He opened the book and began to read. The book told stories of people who were weak but became strong. People who failed many times but kept trying. People who were poor but did not give up. Every story gave Daniel a strange feeling. His heart beat faster. He thought, they were not special. They were like me. If they can change, maybe I can too. The book repeated one idea again and again: the secret is persistence. Persistence means you keep going, even when it is hard. Persistence means you do not stop, even after failing. Daniel whispered the word to himself, persistence, persistence. It sounded powerful. It sounded like magic. He closed the book and thought, maybe this is the secret I have been waiting for. Daniel walked home with the book in his hands. He read as he walked. He almost forgot the world around him. For the first time, he felt a light in his mind. The stories showed him something new. Success is not about being smart. Success is not about being strong. Success is not about being lucky. Success is about not giving up. He remembered all his failures. He remembered all the times he wanted to quit. Now he thought, maybe I failed because I always stopped too soon. Maybe I failed because I gave up too early. He said to himself, if I try again, and again, and again, maybe I can succeed. That night, he could not sleep. He lay in bed, repeating the word, persistence, persistence, persistence. It became like music in his head. He thought, I cannot change everything in one day. But I can change one thing today. I can take one small step. I can try again. Daniel did not know it yet, but he had found the secret. It was not a big secret. It was not a complicated secret. It was simple: never stop. Never give up. Keep going. The next morning, Daniel woke up with new energy. He said to himself, today I will test the secret. He chose his weakest subject, mathematics. Normally, he hated math. Normally, he studied for 1 hour, then gave up. But this time, he decided to be persistent. He opened his book. He solved one problem. He failed. He solved it again. He failed again. But he did not stop. He whispered, persistence. Persistence. He tried a third time. Suddenly, he understood the answer. For the first time, he felt a small victory. It was not a big success. It was only one math problem. But to Daniel, it was like climbing a mountain. He smiled. He thought, this is working. I did not stop, and I won. That day, he tested persistence again in sports. He ran around the field. Usually, he stopped after 2 laps. But this time, he kept running. His legs were heavy, his chest was burning, but he said, persistence. He finished 4 laps. He fell on the grass, tired but proud. He thought, if I can do this, maybe I can do more. Day by day, Daniel practiced persistence. Sometimes he succeeded. Sometimes he still failed. But he noticed one big difference: when he failed, he did not feel broken anymore. Before, failure meant the end. Now, failure was only the beginning. He said, I failed, but I will try again. This small change made him stronger. One day, his teacher gave him back another exam. His score was low again. The class laughed, but Daniel did not cry. He smiled and said, I will do better next time. The teacher looked surprised. Daniel, why are you smiling? Daniel said, because I know I can improve. For the first time, he believed in himself. He began to write the word persistence on the front page of his notebook. Every time he opened the book, he saw it. He repeated it in his mind when he felt tired. He even whispered it before sleeping. Slowly, the word became part of him. Persistence was no longer just a word. It was his secret weapon. It was his key to change. After a few weeks, small changes appeared. Daniel's grades were still not the best, but they were better. Instead of being last in class, he was now in the middle. For him, that was a big step. In sports, he could now run more laps than before. His body still felt weak, but he was getting stronger. And most importantly, his heart felt different. He no longer felt invisible. He no longer felt useless. Every small success gave him courage. Every small victory was proof, persistence works. He said to himself, if I keep going, I can change more. If I keep going, I can become unstoppable. His classmates began to notice. One boy said, Daniel, you are running faster. Another said, wow, your grades are better. Even his teacher smiled and said, I see you are trying harder, Daniel. These small words gave him more power. He thought, they see me now. They believe in me. But most of all, I believe in myself. Of course, not every day was easy. Some days, Daniel was tired. Some days, he wanted to stop. Some days, people still laughed at him. But now, he had the secret. When he felt weak, he whispered, persistence. When he wanted to quit, he whispered, persistence. The word became his shield. It protected him from doubt. One rainy afternoon, Daniel was running on the field. His shoes were wet, his clothes heavy, and he wanted to go home. But he said, one more lap. Just one more lap. He pushed himself. He finished. And when he finished, he smiled. He thought, this is what persistence means. Not comfort. Not ease. But strength in hard times. And so, Daniel grew not only in skill but also in spirit. He learned that persistence shines brightest on hard days. Over time, Daniel collected many small victories. He solved difficult math problems. He read books without stopping. He finished races he once could not finish. Each small victory was like a stone. Together, the stones built a strong wall inside his heart. A wall of confidence. One day, he joined a school race. He was not the fastest, but he did not stop. He finished, even when others dropped out. His classmates clapped. His teacher said, well done, Daniel. Daniel smiled and thought, I am not the fastest. But I am strong because I did not stop. These small victories gave him hope. He realized that life is not about winning every time. Life is about not quitting. And every time he chose persistence, he was already a winner. The biggest change was not outside. It was inside. Daniel's face looked brighter. His steps became stronger. His voice grew louder. He no longer avoided people. He no longer sat alone with shame. Instead, he began to encourage others. When a classmate failed, Daniel said, don't give up. Try again. Be persistent. The same secret that saved him, he now shared with others. His parents also noticed. His father said, Daniel, I see you are different. You do not cry after failure anymore. His mother said, you look happier. Daniel smiled and told them, I found the secret. The secret is persistence. His parents did not fully understand. But they saw the change. And they felt proud. Daniel kept applying the secret every day. He woke up early, studied harder, ran faster, read more. He was not perfect, but he was persistent. He made mistakes, but he did not stop. He fell, but he stood up again. His classmates began to respect him. Some even asked him for advice. Daniel, how do you keep going? He answered with a smile, persistence. Every day, Daniel's belief grew. Every day, his strength grew. He realized something powerful: if he could change once, he could keep changing. If he could grow a little, he could grow more. There was no limit. 1 year later, Daniel was no longer the same boy. He was still in the same school, still in the same town, but he was different inside. He walked with confidence. He spoke with courage. He studied with focus. He trained with discipline. People looked at him and said, Daniel has changed. Yes, he had changed. He was no longer invisible. He was no longer weak. He was no longer broken. He had found the secret. He had applied the secret. And now, his transformation had begun. The boy who once cried under the tree now stood tall under the sun. And this was only the beginning. Daniel's change was no longer small. It was visible to everyone. His teachers noticed it first. One day, his math teacher said, "Daniel, you were once the weakest in class. But now, you are improving every week. How do you do it?" Daniel answered with a smile, "I keep going. I don't stop." The teacher nodded with respect. His classmates also noticed. They whispered to each other, "Daniel is different now. He does not give up like before." Some of them even asked him for help. Imagine that, the boy who was once laughed at was now someone people asked for advice. At home, his parents were surprised too. His father said, "You work hard every day now. You do not run from problems anymore." His mother said, "Your eyes are bright, Daniel. You are not sad like before." Daniel smiled and replied, "Because I found the secret. The secret is persistence." His parents did not say much, but in their hearts, they felt proud. They knew their son was changing. Daniel himself felt the biggest difference. He was no longer afraid of failure. He was no longer afraid of people's laughter. He understood that laughter cannot stop him. Failure cannot stop him. Only giving up could stop him, and he refused to give up. This new strength gave him peace. He thought, "I can face anything. I can keep going, no matter how hard it is." Daniel's confidence grew day by day. Before, he was shy. He spoke softly. He avoided attention. But now, he began to speak up. When the teacher asked a question, he raised his hand. Even if his answer was wrong, he did not feel ashamed. He simply said, "I will learn. I will try again." The class respected his courage. One afternoon, the school organized a debate. Daniel was not chosen at first. The teacher thought he was too quiet. But Daniel asked, "Please give me a chance." The teacher agreed. Daniel stood in front of the class. His voice shook a little, but he spoke with persistence. He did not stop, even when his words were not perfect. At the end, his classmates clapped. One boy said, "I never knew Daniel could speak like that." Daniel thought, "Yes. I can. Because I do not stop anymore." This new confidence spread into every part of his life. He made new friends. He joined more activities. He laughed more. He smiled more. He was not hiding anymore. He was shining. And all of this came from one simple decision, not to give up. With persistence, Daniel began to achieve goals that once felt impossible. His grades improved slowly but surely. By the end of the year, he was not at the bottom of the class anymore. He was above average. This was a huge victory for him. His teacher praised him in front of everyone. Daniel worked hard. Daniel did not give up. Daniel is an example to all of you. The class clapped, and Daniel's heart filled with joy. In sports, he also improved. He was not the fastest runner, but he could run the longest. In the final race of the year, many students gave up halfway. Daniel kept going. Step after step, lap after lap, he did not stop. When he crossed the finish line, the teacher shouted, "This is persistence. This is strength." Everyone respected him. At home, his father looked at him differently. "Son, I was wrong," he said. "I thought you were weak. But you are strong. Stronger than I ever imagined." Daniel smiled and answered, "I am not strong because I win. I am strong because I never stop." His father hugged him, and tears filled his eyes. Daniel had now built something inside that no one could break. He had an unstoppable spirit. Problems still came. Tests were still difficult. Races were still hard. People still doubted him sometimes. But none of these things mattered anymore. Why? Because Daniel had persistence. And persistence made him unstoppable. When he faced a hard exam, he did not fear it. He said, "I will keep studying until I understand." When he faced a strong opponent in sports, he said, "I will not quit, no matter how fast they are." When people doubted him, he said, "You can doubt me, but I will not doubt myself." He began to live with a new power. Nothing could defeat him, not because he always won, but because he never stopped. And when you never stop, life cannot defeat you. Daniel realized this truth and carried it in his heart every day. One day, the school invited Daniel to speak to younger students. They wanted him to share how he had changed. Daniel stood in front of the crowd. He looked at the young faces watching him. He remembered his old self, weak, afraid, invisible. Then he smiled and began to speak. He said, "I was once like you. I was weak. I was shy. I failed many times. People laughed at me. People doubted me. Even I doubted myself. But one day, I found the secret. The secret is persistence. Persistence means you keep going. Persistence means you do not stop, even when you fail. I want you to remember this: it does not matter how slow you go. It does not matter how many times you fall. What matters is that you stand up and try again. If you do this, you will never be defeated. If you do this, you will be unstoppable." The students clapped loudly. Some even shouted, "Thank you, Daniel." His teacher wiped a tear from her eye. His parents sat in the back, smiling proudly. Daniel felt warm inside. He had not only changed his own life. He was now changing the lives of others. Daniel was no longer just a boy in a small town. He was no longer the student who always failed, the child who was laughed at, the son who felt invisible. He had become something else. He had become unstoppable. What does unstoppable mean? It does not mean perfect. It does not mean never failing. It means that nothing, no problem, no pain, no doubt, no fear, can stop you from moving forward. And that was Daniel now. When people said, "You cannot do it," Daniel smiled and answered, "Watch me." When failure knocked at his door, he opened the door and said, "I will try again." When fear whispered, "You are too weak," Daniel shouted back, "I am strong because I keep going." He was like a river. Rocks could not stop him. They could only change his direction, but he kept flowing. He was like the sun. Clouds could cover him, but he always returned. He was unstoppable. People began to respect him everywhere. His classmates, his teachers, his parents, and even people from other schools knew his name. But more important than fame, Daniel respected himself. He looked in the mirror and no longer saw a weak boy. He saw a fighter. He saw a dreamer. He saw a man with persistence in his heart. Now, my friend, I want to speak to you. You have listened to Daniel's story. You have heard how he was weak, how he failed, how he cried, how he almost gave up. You also heard how he found the secret, persistence, and how it changed his life. But remember this: Daniel is not special. He is like you. He is like me. He is like anyone who struggles. The secret that worked for him can also work for you. Ask yourself, do you have dreams? Do you sometimes feel like giving up? Do you sometimes think you are not good enough? If your answer is yes, then you need the same secret. You need persistence. Because persistence is the bridge between failure and success. Persistence is the bridge between doubt and confidence. Persistence is the bridge between the old you and the new you. Say it with me: I will not give up. I will not stop. I will be persistent. Repeat it again: I will not give up. I will not stop. I will be persistent. Let the words enter your heart. Let them become your secret. The lesson is simple, but powerful. Life will test you. Life will make you fall. Life will laugh at you, just like it laughed at Daniel. But if you remember persistence, nothing can stop you. You may fall 7 times, but you will rise 8 times. You may fail 10 times, but you will succeed the 11th time. You may be slow today, but if you keep moving, tomorrow you will be faster. Think about learning English. Sometimes it feels hard. Sometimes you forget words. Sometimes you make mistakes when you speak. Maybe people laugh. Maybe you feel shy. But remember Daniel. Remember persistence. If you keep practicing every day, if you keep repeating words, if you keep listening, reading, and speaking, you will improve. It may be slow, but it will happen. Do not stop. Do not quit. Be persistent. Remember this sentence: winners are not people who never fail. Winners are people who never quit. You can be a winner. You can be unstoppable. Let us practice together. Say these words with me. I am strong. I can learn. I will not stop. I will be persistent. I will succeed. Again, repeat. I am strong. I can learn. I will not stop. I will be persistent. I will succeed. Feel the words. Believe the words. Speak them until they live inside your heart. Daniel changed because he believed in persistence. You can change too. Do not wait for tomorrow. Start today. Start now. Take one small step. Study one page. Run one lap. Write one line. Say one new word in English. Do one thing, and then another, and then another. This is persistence. Small steps, every day, without stopping. Say it again, I will not give up. I will be unstoppable. My friend, we have come to the end of Daniel's story. But remember, the story is not only about Daniel. The story is about you. The secret that made him unstoppable can also make you unstoppable. It is not money. It is not talent. It is not luck. The secret is persistence. The secret is simple. The secret is strong. Believe in yourself. Keep going. Do not stop. Do not quit. Be persistent. And you too will be unstoppable. When life is hard, remember this story. When people doubt you, remember this story. When you feel weak, remember this story. Daniel was once weak, but persistence made him strong. You may feel weak now, but persistence can make you strong too. So I will leave you with these final words. The secret is simple. The secret is strong. Believe in yourself. Be persistent. And you will be unstoppable.